there's definitely a side of me that comes out when I'm in a relationship, which I really don't like, which is like, if my will isn't being met, I get like childish, I get like,
Right.
yeah, like a kid who doesn't get a toy, and I think as the older I get, the more I'm aware of it, the more I'm able to counteract it and challenge it, and not just let that take over. But I still lose the battle a lot more than I would want to.
Can you say a bit more about what that place in you wants and feels?
Well, like you were saying, I think it's just wants to be like, I feel like I want that other person that in my life, a partner, girlfriend, or whatever, to make me a priority, because I feel like from my side, that's what I do. So a part of me expects it returned. I think that's why, because I'm very much, I can definitely, I take a while to get there. Like particularly if I'm not totally sure about the person at first, but if I get to that point, like I'm, 100% in it, and I'm like, want them to meet with my friends, want them to meet my family, the whole works. But so I'm a weird paradox, because I'm quite, like I say, it's not often I get there with someone, but when I do, I'm like all in. And so I guess I start to feel, if that's not being given back, that's when it starts to, I feel that sort of child rearing its head and being like, that's not fair. It's like, it's not fair.
Right.
That's the sentiment.
I think that's the piece that's really important to see.
Yeah.
Right. There's a place in you which is like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not right. It's not fair.
Yeah.
How about me? How about what, I've done this. How about what I'm going to get back?
Yeah. Which doesn't seem to me a healthy way to be in an adult relationship,
Well, it's not healthy for that place to be running the show.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it probably is running the show a bit more than we want it to.
Yeah.
The question is why. It's not, the way to address it is not to shame that part of you or to judge that part of you. It's to really understand. Like, can you think about other places in your life where that feeling like it's not fair is?
I mean, I felt like that sometimes just about myself and about why I have the problems I have, or, why can't I sleep? Like, why do I have such bad problems with sleep? That's not fair. Why do I have such mental anguish sometimes with whatever anxiety or health anxiety? Maybe I've got some latent frustrations. I wouldn't say it's not fair though. It's like frustrations around, because in my 20s I wanted to be a rock star, and I wanted to make it in a band, and or if not in a band, maybe as an actor or something, because I love performing. So it's like there's a part of me that, in that regard, that is permanently unfulfilled and frustrated, and thinks, I never, and everyone I'm sure thinks this, like, never thought at 41 I'd be doing this and that and living here, and or at 41 I wouldn't have this or I wouldn't have that. So in those areas, I'd say.
How about a younger you? How about you as a younger boy, as a teenager, that it's not fair place?
What do you mean?
Well, it feels like there's a narrative that fits in your adult life, which is there are things that you wanted that didn't quite happen the way that you wanted them to happen. But also this place feels like quite a young place in you.
Yeah.
And I wonder about if you have memory of being, a little boy, or being in your early teens or your later teens of like, not feeling fair.
Oh, I mean, I've mentioned it before. I think they're getting bullied for 2 years.
Right.
That's definitely. And I felt a lot of that kind of feeling at home as well, because my mother forced me to practice the violin every day.
Yeah.
So it was like, not only was like, I was at boarding school. So when I was at boarding school, I'd get bullied and teased. And then when I came home, not only did I not get to just goof off and relax, I had to.
You got bullied.
I got bullied in another way, by my own parent. And have been forced to do this thing for an hour every day that I didn't enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And it made me dread the entire day running up to that happening, to sort of get it out of the way.
Yeah. Because what I'm hearing is that there's I use these words recognizing this is not a judgment of you or unique to you. We all have this in our own ways, but this needy, slightly angry place that wants something, that needs something, that longs for something, that isn't getting it, and is quite volatile in response, of like, it's almost like a very exposed and sensitive wound. And if someone even touches it, it can very quickly kind of trigger a strong response. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. And I think it's also partly due to the fact that the way I observed and witnessed my mother reacting to things that she didn't get. And
right.
She was frustrated herself. She was an actress, and she got a scholarship to RADA when she was 17.
Oh, wow.
Was in the same class as Sean Connery. And
wow.
She was on her way up and then had a family. And then,
So was there a place of also, although I'm sure she very much loved her family, a place of also part of her resented her family because it had become an obstacle to fulfilling that dream?
Yeah, I don't know if it was as strong as resenting her family, but she never got over it, I don't think. And she was always, she had a permanent sort of sadness around that. And
it's not an either or, right? It's like she can have loved her family and had a place in her that the two things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah. I think probably that's true. Yeah. So she had her own set of frustrations and difficulties that she had to deal with on a regular basis, and having to be a housewife and a mother, and drudgery, domesticity, and instead of
particularly at a time where you couldn't have both as well.
Yeah, and particularly as my dad, his work involved him being abroad for weeks at a time.
Right. So she really couldn't have both.
She really couldn't. Yeah. So really, she made that sacrifice. But, in many ways, she made people around her pay for that.
Yes.
And I'm sure
And she made you pay for it as well.
And I'm sure some of the issues I struggle with now stem from that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's right. And it's how I tend to look at things like this is there's a few different levels to it, because there is the logical, rational level of, and that's part of, us talking about it is hopefully helpful somewhat, of having more awareness of what's happening. Because sometimes just the awareness alone, we can see ourselves, hang on, I know I'm the path I'm about to go down, and we can step off that path because we can see the pattern.
Yeah.
But also there is a wound, like there is an unhealed wound in you, which is a part of you which feels unseen, unheld, unloved, frustrated. And that wound is near the surface, and when it gets touched, there's a response that's not so much about that moment, but about all the other moments that are being triggered by that wound being touched.
Yeah.
And so healing some of that wound should also then reduce some of that sensitivity and reactivity.
Yeah.